ex-girlfriend got revenge on me and I'm so broken. I, 25 male, have been with my ex-girlfriend Carly, 23 female, for nearly 10 years. We were high school sweethearts and we had a good relationship up until after she completed college. Adulthood has been putting strain on our relationship, so bills and finding sustaining jobs has been a challenge. We started arguing a bunch and just started overall being annoyed with each other's existence. We weren't sleeping in the same room, let alone being intimate. It was a tough time to say the least. We tried therapy and I felt like it wasn't working. I honestly wanted to be done, but I couldn't break up with her because we lived together and she helped me get out of debt. So I did something horrible and I started cheating on her with her childhood best friend. I thought she would never find out, and oh my gosh, I was wrong. Yesterday afternoon, I came home and she wanted to talk, and without hesitation, she jumped straight into it and asked me point blank if I was cheating on her. And I, of course, tried to lie, and she just starts laughing and says, "I knew you weren't going to admit it, but I was going to give you the benefit of the doubt, so now I feel less guilty." I confessed to her, and she just looked at me. She didn't have an expression nor speak. When I finished, she just laughed and told me that I would never forget it. Honestly, it's fine because Louis was over last weekend and we had a great time. My heart dropped to my stomach because Louis is my big brother. I just thought it was a low blow on Carly given she knew how insecure I was about my brother. He's a golden child and literally always did things 10 times better than me. I'm stuck having to have some sort of relationship with him, and meanwhile she can just drop her friend. My chest and heart have been hurting so much since I found out, and I'm so broken. I know I was wrong for cheating first, but if she knew, why didn't she just break up with me first? I called out of work because I feel like throwing up just thinking about it. So it has been brought to my attention that my ex-boyfriend came on here to whine to y'all. Please do not feel bad for him because that man quite literally left out so many things in his post to try to make me seem like the bad guy. He wants to talk about our relationship to a bunch of strangers. Fine, let's do it. Yes, Mike was right about one thing. The relationship has been strained because of bills and finding well-paying jobs. That's literally because he has refused to work since 2020 when the virus started initially. We have been living off my CNA paycheck and the money my dad inherited to me. The only thing this man freaking did was stay in our guest room to play video games and live stream to his 10 viewers on Twitch and make absolutely no money. Not only did he have the audacity to make zero money, but he got into $8,900 in online gambling debt. Then I gave him the money to pay it off, like the idiot I am. So yes, I was heavily irritated with him given I was in nursing school and working at the same time. That's not even the icing on the cake that he conveniently left out. I was supposed to be expecting our first child this summer and I unfortunately miscarried. Instead of comforting me like a decent human being, he degraded me, blamed me for overworking myself, and said I caused the miscarriage myself. He randomly refused to sleep in the same bed as me until I later found out that he didn't find me attractive anymore and that he was disgusted by my body. I was depressed for months leading up to this and cried myself to sleep because I felt like I wasn't even good enough and developed an eating disorder. I guess he felt like verbally abusing me wasn't good enough, but started having an affair with my best friend since kindergarten. He was so stupid to leave his iPhone messages and iCloud sync to his iPad, so I knew everything he was saying about me. I was depressed for 3 weeks before cheating on him and hoping it was just a bad dream that a boy that was my first love and everything could hurt and hate me so much. So yes, last weekend when he said he was going out of town to see his dad, I knew he was lying and was going to actually spend the weekend with my best friend. So yes, I called his brother over to help install something, and his brother has always flirted with me, and I knew Mike was always jealous of his brother. It's quite pathetic when you think about it. His brother is on track to be a doctor and had multiple full-ride scholarships to multiple schools and is everyone's obvious choice between them because he's actually a decent person. So yes, I screwed his brother all weekend and it was the best I felt in a long time. Is that morally wrong? Probably, but I needed to do it for my own sanity and to burn that bridge with our relationship so I can be done completely. The rest is directly to Mike since he blocked me. You don't get to play the victim online and act like you weren't actively trying to break me for these past 3 years. You made me feel worthless and that I wasn't good enough to get anyone else besides you. I hate that I wasted so much time on you, but I now realize I wasn't the problem. It was you. I hope you get help because you actually are a narcissist, and I pray for any other girl that comes in contact with you. Besides Annie, because you guys deserve each other. P.S. Give me back my damn dishes, pots, and knives. You know your ass didn't buy them, let alone use it.
I fucked up agreeing to watch my friend have... A few nights ago, I, 22 male, showed up at my friend's, 25 males, flat to watch him have sex with his girlfriend, 22. It was an unforgettable experience for all the wrong reasons. Sleeping together in front of someone else was a fantasy my friend and his girlfriend wanted to explore. My name was apparently the only name that managed to get 2 unanimous yes votes from my friend and his girlfriend during their selection process. I leaned towards saying no when my friend offered me the uncomfortable position of being the other person, but I accepted the role because my friend played his "you owe me" card and made it sound like it would be over in less than 10 minutes. I had one job: enjoy the show, but without touching my friend or his girlfriend. My presence was my only purpose. When I entered my friend's bedroom and approached my designated chair, I was prepared for an awkward night. My friend and his girlfriend are attractive people, but I've never been keen to see them naked, let alone sexually active. As soon as the kissing and touching turned into stripping and I was struggling to contain my laughter. It was a nervous reaction that was out of my control due to an unusual situation that was also unintentionally funny. Exhibit A, my friend was quiet. Too quiet. Mimes have made more noise than him. Exhibit B, my friend's girlfriend must have been under the impression that I was a talent scout because literally any random touch from my vocally challenged friend, like his knuckles brushing against her knee or whatever, would prompt her to bite her bottom lip and moan like she was tasting a delicious dish for a television commercial. Exhibit C, my friend was unable to get a pivotal part of his anatomy to rise to the occasion because he focused too much of his attention on me when he noticed that I was fighting the urge to laugh. I did my best to avoid eye contact since I was supposed to be watching something purposefully hot, not accidentally hilarious. My friend asked me what was so funny. I apologized and said my reaction was nothing more than nervous laughter, which was 90% true. The other 10% was me trying not to laugh at my friend being dead quiet while his girlfriend was gunning for best over-the-top performance at the Academy Awards. When my friend's girlfriend realized that I was indirectly distracting my friend, she unexpectedly wiggled my friend's flaccid and said, "Erecto patronum." My friend got annoyed and said, quote, "Look what you've done." I thought he was talking to his girlfriend, but it quickly became clear that he was actually talking to me. Based on his feedback, my, quote, "childish reaction" motivated his girlfriend to incorporate inappropriate Harry Potter humor when he was feeling vulnerable. He blamed me for everything that didn't go according to plan, including the fact that he was struggling to get it up. By the time he was done branding me the bad guy, he was dressed and no longer interested in continuing. I apologized again and explained that it was never my intention to laugh or become a distraction. It was involuntary. My friend suggested that we continue the conversation the next day. That was 3 days ago. My friend is still not responding to my messages or answering my calls. I get that I should have done a better job being serious, but I don't understand how all of this is on me. Anyways, never watching friends have again.
I literally got kidnapped in Mexico. This happened about literally last year. It's about to make a year and I haven't really told no one about it because honestly that was like one of my scariest experiences like I've ever gone through, and till this day I'm still scared. So yeah, I ended up going to visit family in Sinaloa and we ended up going to Mazatlan for like 2 nights. It was our last night there and me being me suggested we go to like a high-end club. I was like, I want to spend my money. Like I want to go to a nice club. My cousins ended up, agreeing with me and they're like, okay, like we're gonna go to El Clásico. And El Clásico is like those really good clubs where like all the musicians go and it's just like a really high-end club. So we ended up going, but before we went, like I had this feeling. I was like, oh, I don't know if like I want to go because that whole day we're at the beach and I was already exhausted, but I'm like, I'm gonna have FOMO. If I don't go, like I'm gonna be like crying. So I'm like, no, like let's suck it up, like let's go. We ended up going and getting there. My uncle got off to see how much the fee was to get in. I think the fee was like 2,000 pesos, and my uncle was like, oh, they're just switching it up because they know we're not from here. So my uncle was like, let's make a U-turn and let's call other places to see how much the entrance fee is, and if it's like a little bit more expensive, we're just gonna stay here. Right when we were doing the U-turn, I noticed the parking lot was full of Beamers, Range Rovers, Mercedes. So I was like, no, we have to get in here. Like, this club is going to be good, So we still made that U-turn and we parked on the other side of the street. And right when we parked, we noticed these police literally come behind us and they started ringing their siren. The police started inspecting our car because they're like, this car isn't from here. You don't have like this license plate, but we actually did before we got to the place. We actually ended up switching that because we knew it was going to be a problem over there. So we had it. Basically, they started like literally going through every inch of the car, and then my aunt was like, hey, like look at their hands because they're known to stash drugs and blame it on you and get money out of you. So we're looking at their hands. But long story short, they ended up stashing the drugs inside of my uncle's pocket. Like literally, they're like, your uncle has coke, and we knew he didn't have coke. They literally stashed. But basically, my uncle was like, go back to the hotel and grab, you know, your grandma and go back to like where we're from. And it was like 6 hours away. So the police heard and they're like, you know what, you guys aren't going nowhere. The police literally got into our car and started driving us around while they took my uncle into their car. So we were like, fuck, because he literally had like guns on him. He had like all these arms, and it was like literally 10 cops against like us 4. At this point, they literally took away everything. They took away my money, they took away my ID, they took everything away from me. And I remember we're offering the guy money. He's like, you know what, like I don't want money. And I just remember that day I was like, you know what, like I'm gonna die here, because he was literally driving us around for like 40 minutes, and it wasn't even in the city no more. It was like in these really dark alleyways. And I remember I was just crying because I was just so scared, and they didn't give a fuck. Like they did not give a fuck. Finally, we offered them like everything we had, like all of our money and stuff, and they literally gave in. They took every penny we had that night, like everything. And it was just such a fucked up situation, because apart from them being like, you know, fucked up to us, we didn't have no more money left, and they left us alone. But before they left us, they literally took photos of every inch of the car. They took photos of us, like, and they knew every, like, our names and everything. After they let us go, we ended up going to a club, literally the most pobrecito club ever, because we had no money. And I wasn't gonna sleep, you know, traumatized. So my uncle was like, you know what, guys, like, let's go to a club. So we ended up going to like this little club. It was fun, I guess, but yeah, don't ever park in Mexico, because you literally get kidnapped by the police. And yeah.
Please be very careful who you share your body with. Stop sharing your body with these rats. Let me tell you a story. I was 16 years old and I was delulu. I had been talking to this guy. We had been talking on and off for about 2 years already. 2 years, girl. And I tell you, we would talk every night. We would literally be on FaceTime for hours. But keep in mind, this was like long distance. He was like 2 or 3 years older than me, and he was in college. So he was in college like 2 hours away from me. Also, we're just gonna call him Chad, okay? So on Valentine's Day, Chad was like, oh, you know what? Like, I wanna see you. And I actually couldn't see him because I was at the movies with my mom. But I was like, oh, I really wanna see him. So I was like, what if you come over? Like, I can sneak you into my house. I had never had sex. I'm like, I don't want this to get demonetized. This isn't YouTube, but you guys know what I'm saying. I told him, like, you can come to my house. I'm gonna sneak you in, because it was already nighttime by the time he texted me. Which, first of all, I used to be dumb, okay? We're not even gonna talk about all the red flags. It wasn't clicking back then. So I was like, I'm gonna sneak you in, but, like, I just want you to know, like, don't expect for us to do anything. So Chad comes over. We're in my room. We're kissing. We're being, like, touchy, right? But still knowing, I'm like, we're not gonna actually like do anything. So at this point he starts begging, you know, the classic, just a tip, like, just a tip, ni madres. First of all, when I tell you begging, girl, I mean begging, like on and on and on. And I don't let him convince me, because first of all, I told you guys I had never done that before. Second of all, I wanted my first time to be very special, and thankfully I did wait, and thankfully it was special. So eventually he went on his phone, and girl, let me tell you, you're gonna think, oh, there was another girl. No. Girl, my heart drops. When I tell you my heart drops when I see this text message, he texted his friend, I'm about to be this hoe. I was so sad. It's been a long time that we've been talking. Like, it's been a long time. And this is how you see me? I was so hurt. I was like in shock. I looked away and I started crying, right? Girl, tell me why he deletes the message and he's like, what happened? Oh, and to top it off, I kid you not, he tries saying that message was about math homework. He's like, what? We were talking about math homework. I kid you not. I'm like, ain't no fucking way. You really think I'm a fucking idiot? Like, there's no way. Math homework. Basically, he ends up leaving. I didn't even kick him out. Girl, when I tell you, you know what? I didn't. I was like, I don't fuck with this at all. And I was in shock. And I didn't want to ever see him again. But I didn't kick him out. This is so embarrassing. He had somebody call him and tell them that he had to leave. Like, you know when you have your friend call you because you're like trying to get out of something? That's what he did to me. And I should have been the one to kick him out. But whatever. We don't talk about that. And basically afterwards, he texted me saying I was the only person who understood him. It was bullshit after bullshit. I ended up blocking his number. That's one of the many reasons I tell you guys, don't share your body with just anybody. There is so many more reasons. You never want to be with somebody that doesn't even respect you. I would have truly regretted if I did end up sleeping with him, and I'm so thankful that I didn't. Be careful and have higher standards. Clearly, my standards were not there.
Something I will never understand is when you're friends with a girl and you find out that her boyfriend is a cheater, or even worse, they try to come on to you. And so of course you tell your friend, and instead of them getting mad at the guy, they cut you off. This happened to me before, where I was dating a guy and I introduced him to my best friend at the time. For some reason, I had gave him her number because we were all meeting at a party and I think he was gonna get there before me. So I was like, just call her when you get there so you're not like lost. So a few days later, my friend calls me and is like, hey, your man is calling me to come over. And it was 2 o'clock in the morning, so you know exactly what he was calling her for. So I was like, oh, okay, because immediately all feelings went out the window. Like, you're trying to hook up with my best friend. Like, of all people on earth, like, this guy was very good looking. He could have got with anybody, but you want to hook up with my best friend? Like, you are demonic. Like, you have to go. So we immediately went into like sting operation mode because I wanted to catch him red-handed, of course. So I had my friend call him back on three-way, and this man was so stupid. Like, he should have known something was up because she was asking him like all of these different questions, and he's just yapping his gums away, like just talking like a little parakeet. And then finally I jump in on the phone and it goes silent. Like, I literally gagged him, you guys. Like, I could hear the lump in his throat forming when I came onto the phone. So he's trying to talk his way out of it, but like, he got caught red-handed. And this is how I know this guy was like truly deranged, because then he starts crying on the phone, like trying to manipulate me. Like, this man was sobbing on the phone, and even I got uncomfortable because I'm like, bro, we haven't even been dating that long. Like, it's not even that serious. So he's just crying. Me and my friend are just laughing at him, like hyena maniacal, laughing at this man while he's crying on the phone. We're just like, and I was so happy in that moment because it was like my first sting operation and it was so successful. After that, I never talked to him again, never saw him again, was just totally done. And the next day, me and my bestie went to Ted's Montana Grill and we got margaritas. And I just feel like that's how every situation like that should end, with you just laughing at the man on the phone while he's crying and then go getting drinks. But yeah, don't ever let a man come in between you and your best friend, like, ever.
My wedding to propose, I'll ruin your proposal. I, 35 male, have a younger brother, Todd, 29 male, who had a complicated birth and had to stay a month in the ICU. And because of that, my parents have always doted on him and almost denied him nothing, even if it was to the detriment of my sister, Abby, 32 female, and I. My brother drinks in on the attention and has on more than one occasion made himself the center of attention at either my sister's, or my cousin's special event. Because of this, Abby and I have a strained relationship with Todd and our parents. Unfortunately, Todd met and fell in love with Lucy, 24 female, who announced her own pregnancy at the baby shower my mom held for Abby. When I proposed to my wife, Michelle, 30 female, I just wanted to elope, but she really wanted her family to be there, so I invited my family out of obligation. While out, my best man, Jim, 35 male, noticed a receipt from a jewelry store slipped out of Todd's pocket. Jim confronted Todd about this, which led to an argument. Jim told me everything, and I told Todd that he was no longer going to be a groomsman because I knew he was going to propose at my wedding. Todd cried to our parents, which led to a blowout. In my parents' eyes, since Todd never admitted that he was going to propose to Lucy at my wedding, I was unfairly judging him. I refused and brought up Todd's past behavior. My parents couldn't refute this and got Todd to agree to not try anything at my wedding. This wasn't enough to convince me to let him be groomsman, but I warned him that if, as a guest, he'd try anything, I would make him regret it. Fast forward to the wedding, and surprise, surprise, Todd walked over to Lucy and proposed proposed to her during Michelle's father-daughter dance, and he did it in a way so that everyone would notice. Cue my revenge. Jim and I had hired a woman to pretend to be Todd's side piece who cornered Todd and Lucy and claimed that she was pregnant with his baby. Todd denied this, but when she called his phone, I gave her his number and messed with Todd's phone to incriminate him. It didn't look good. Lucy threw the ring back at Todd and left in tears. And when Todd saw the smile on my face, he knew that it was me, and I didn't respond to a single call or text from him or my parents until after the honeymoon. Lucy has thrown Todd's stuff out and has been denying access to their kid. Todd is furious and is demanding that I clear his name. I sent him a text saying that I had no idea what he was talking about, as well as a screenshot of a bill for the wedding, and gave a vague message demanding reimbursement for half of the wedding costs. Michelle knew the whole time what I was planning and gave me the green light after Todd ruined her moment with her dad. So I felt pretty good, but now even Abby thinks I went too far.
My boyfriend left me on the side of the road and I deserved it. Story time. My unreal boyfriend decided to treat us both to dinner. We were having such a good time, laughing, talking. We finished up our meal and we headed home. About halfway home, I asked if we could stop somewhere and get some dessert. And he says something along the lines of, haha, didn't we just eat? And then he keeps driving. Then me, being so stupid and selfish, pushes him and is like, come on, let's do it. I really just want something sweet. He replies and is like, we have ice cream at home. And I just kept pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. And this boy is being very patient, more patient than I probably deserved, but he was firm and kept saying no. So eventually I stop and I give up. But then I see a fast food restaurant coming up and I jokingly just pull the wheel. And apparently I pulled a little bit harder than I thought I had. We actually ended up swerving quite badly and hit another car, only very lightly though. And to make things worse, he literally just bought this car like 2 weeks ago. So the other driver motions for us to pull over. Both drivers get out and the other driver starts cussing at my boyfriend, saying some horrible things. There was barely any damage to both cars. Only like the tiniest little scratch on our bumper. They didn't even exchange any information, that was how minor it was. So whilst he is being yelled at, I just stayed in the car and let him be punished for something that I did. When he gets back into the car, he starts to drive so carefully. He's gripping the steering wheel so tight, so hard that the veins in its arms were popping out. His entire face has gone red and he hasn't said a single word to me. And I felt so awkward, so I decided to break the silence. And to be fair, I probably could have picked something better to say, because I just said, well, that could have gone a lot worse. And at that moment, he stomps on the brakes and tells me to get out of his car. I've never felt scared of my boyfriend before, but in that moment, oh my god, he sounded so angry, I was terrified. It looked like he was struggling not to hurt me. So of course, I got out and he sped off. At this point, it started to get really dark and I was in a stretch of woods. It took me almost an hour to get home, and when I did, him and all of his stuff was gone. I literally feel so awful. I can't even apologise because he isn't even responding to my texts. We had fights before about my childish quirks and how they can go a little bit too far sometimes. Now I just don't have a boyfriend anymore because of it. I've been getting texts from our friends like, what the hell do you even think you were doing? That was so dangerous. So I assume he's told them what's happened. And now everyone is mad at me, so how can I fix this?
Am I wrong for cutting contact with my friend for wanting to hook up with my daughter? I'm 47 female and my friend 40 female and her husband 48 male are known to be swingers, although they never confirm nor deny. I met this friend, I'll call her Sarah, at my workplace 7 years ago. She was my coworker. I worked at that job for many years. All my coworkers were like family to me. We were all very close. So even when I stopped working there, I kept close contact with my ex-coworkers and we would hang out often. My daughter-in-law's 26th baby shower was a couple days ago and it took place at my house. So I invited many of my friends, including Sarah and her husband. The baby shower was going great until my daughter, 19, came up to me saying that she thinks Sarah and her husband are hitting on her. I asked her why she felt that way, hoping it would be some sort of misunderstanding. But my daughter said that Sarah kept talking about my daughter and her boyfriend's 20, I'll call him Dan, looks, saying how attractive they are, complimenting their bodies, and asking about their sex life. My daughter said her boyfriend looked visibly uncomfortable. Sarah then offered my daughter and her boyfriend to come to her place with her husband when the party was over. My daughter just awkwardly laughed it off and then went to tell me what happened. While she was telling me, Sarah's husband, I'll call him Jay, was talking to Dan. The conversation started off about sports, then somehow became about sex. Jay asked Dan straight up if him and my daughter wanted to go back to his place and swap out ladies for a bit. Dan immediately declined, to which Jay replied, "You're no fun," and kept trying to convince him. Dan walked away after that. I didn't want to start drama at the baby shower, so the next morning I confronted Sarah over the phone about what happened. I don't see what the problem is. They're both adults. That response made me livid, but I was trying with all my might to keep cool. These are my issues. 1. Why would you try to plan a hookup at a baby shower? 2. Why would you hook up with your close friend's daughter and her partner? 3. Sarah and her husband have known my daughter since she was 12. Sarah refused to apologize and accused me of kink shaming. I said some not so nice things on the phone, and I did threaten to beat her ass if she ever comes close to my daughter or her boyfriend again. I told her to never speak to me again and blocked her number. Some of our mutual friends say that I overreacted because it's not like she was trying to force your daughter to have sex with her and her husband, and they said they were just asking my daughter and her boyfriend if they were interested, so that makes it okay. I wonder how they would feel if she did that to their children. So, am I in the wrong?
This morning I woke up with no plans and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go to Miami to try a gym. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna try like a bougie gym, blah, blah, blah. Bitch, I get there and I'm like, oh, can I try like a free pass? And they're like, we don't do that. And I was like, I did not just drive here so freaking far for so long for this. And then bitch, they were like, oh, but do you want a tour? And I was so nervous, I said yes. Even though like I don't need a tour because I'm not gonna go. Anyways, I get a tour and then I meet a girl and she's like, oh my god, like I love your TikToks. Bitch, I ended up going on a walk with her for like an hour. And she like works in Equinox, so we became friends. And she says that they have like special events, like happy hours. And she told me that I'm gonna go with her one day. Literally my bestie, like I love her. And then, bitch, the story gets even freaking juicier because I met a man. I literally met a man. After I said bye to her, I walked around the mall, and just why not? And then I see this, like, really fine man, like, really fine. And, bitch, I call my friend that I just met, and I'm like, bitch, there's a fine-ass man, like, what do I do? I was literally standing around him for, like, 10 minutes, just thinking about what the fuck I was gonna do. And then, bitch, I thought of it. I was like, I'm gonna ask him if he's around here and if he can give me, like, directions to, like, the closest Lululemon in the mall. Bitch, I go up to him. I'm like, hey, are you from around here? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, do you happen to know where the closest Lululemon is? And he's like, oh, it's upstairs. And then bitch, I complimented his outfit. I'm like, oh, by the way, like, your outfit's so nice. And bitch, he looks over at me and look at how I look. Look at how I look. I'm like, I start laughing out of nervousness. And he's like, oh, do you know any Ice Cube songs? I'm like, literally no. Like, no. Cause bitch, my shirt is Ice Cube. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm dressed like this because I was actually I had planned to go to a gym today. You know, like Equinox. He's like, I actually go there. I could bring you as a guest. Long story short, bitch, he said that he was like ordering an Uber and like waiting for it. And then he's like, oh, what's your Instagram? And I'm like, oh, I don't have one. Bitch. And then he's like, okay, so what's your number? And then I gave him my number. And he texted me, and we've been texting right now, but I have not answered him, bitch, because I'm busy. And then, bitch, I went to Sephora to just, like, play around with makeup, and I did my makeup, and it's so cute. But, bitch, it's crazy. It's crazy. Like, I literally can't believe I went up to him. I was so nervous, too. I couldn't remember if I gave him my phone number or not. And then when he texted me, I was like, oh, I did give him my freaking phone number. I got pulled over on my way to work this morning. I cannot make this shit up. I cannot make this shit up. I'm driving to work. It's 7 in the morning. I'm listening to a playlist I made 8 years ago, my freshman year of college. It's a throwback. It's a jam. I'm having a party. I'm on the back roads. I'm going fast. I'm going 10 miles over the speed limit. I'm going fast, and all of a sudden I hear whew, whew, and I go, fuck. Because last month I got a speeding ticket, and it wasn't my fault, but I did get one. And I was like, shit, this is going to look really bad. I pull over. The cop pulls in behind me. He comes up to my window. I roll it down. He says, ma'am, do you know why I pulled you over today? I said, no, sir, I do not. He says, ma'am, I saw you driving and you looked like you were having a hell of a time with your music. I said, yes, sir, I was. He says, I just wanted to know what you were listening to. I said, what? Sir? He goes, you looked like you were having a really good time. I just want to know what you were listening to. I said, Beyonce, sir? He goes, He goes, the queen bee? Keep in mind, this is like a 70-year-old man with a handlebar mustache. The queen bee? I'm fighting for my life. I'm trying not to laugh. I said, yes, sir. Yes, she is. He goes, what song? I said 7-Eleven, sir. And he goes, I don't know that one. I said, it's my favorite, sir. He goes, are you calling me sir so much because you're nervous? I said, yes, sir. I'm gonna cry. I'm very nervous, sir. He said, you're not in trouble. Just slow down. I said, okay, sir. He says, enjoy the queen bee, and walks away. I can't make this up. Oh.